Good morning, everyone. Chief Meteorologist Shane Smith here on Facebook and Twitter, doing a little bit of a video weather blog to talk about the big potential for a winter storm next week. And I know if you've been following any of the national media or if you're a weather enthusiast, this potential storm has been the talk of the town for the last couple of days. And it could have some impacts on our weather here in southern West Virginia. Still a lot of questions, but I figure I'd go ahead and give you a status update where we're at and where we're going. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got going on right now. The storm that we're talking about for next week is actually going to be two storms coming together as one. Down in the Caribbean right now, heading into the southern part of the Atlantic, we've got Hurricane Sandy. It's working its way off to the north, a pretty potent hurricane right now for October standards. It is going to continue to lift its way off to the north, and then it's going to meet up with this cold front back in here. Notice how we've got temperatures in the 60s around Chicago, and then back into Iowa and Minnesota, we're into the 30s. So a potent cold front across the upper Midwest. That's pushing its way off to the east. That's going to cross southern West Virginia this weekend. That's going to bring us some rain, some cooler temperatures, and some wind for the weekend. What happens is, the beginning of next week, that cold front and Sandy are going to meet up off the East Coast and create a bigger storm. They're going to come together. At least that's what the computer models are indicating right now. We are going to switch sources real quick and take a look at a couple of the computer models. I got 3 or 4 picked out we're going to look at. First off, we're going to start with the European model. The European model is one of my preferred models for forecasting. It tends to be pretty consistent in long range, and it's been very consistent with Sandy so far. Here's the setup. We're at a Saturday morning. Sandy's off the coast of Florida by a couple hundred miles. The cold front's moving into southern West Virginia. We go forward in time a little bit towards Saturday evening. We're seeing a little bit of rain. Sandy keeps churning up the Atlantic. Go forward into Sunday afternoon. We see this is where the storm begins to phase or come together, at least according to this model. Notice how the front and the northwest quadrant of Sandy start becoming one right there just to the south of the Delmarva Peninsula, and then that hurricane or tropical storm, whatever it'll be at that time, starts getting wrapped into Sandy. Here in southern West Virginia, according to this model, we're still seeing rain at this point, but a cold rain, some blustery winds, and then watch what happens as we go in towards Monday and Tuesday. That storm slowly gets wrapped up into that front. And I want to point out a little line on the map right here. See this solid yellow line just off to the west of southern West Virginia? That's the 540 line. That's a thickness line. It's something we look at in winter weather forecasting as an idea of when we may see snow. Now you're saying that off to the west right now, this is Monday afternoon. But some of the computer models, the Euro included, are showing the ground temperature in southern West Virginia at that time to be at least cold enough that we've got to toss out the possibility of snow. The red line on this map, the freezing line, and you can see most of our area below freezing at this point. So that would indicate, at least according to the Euro, either wet snow, a rain-snow mix. It's just hard to say at this point. This is a very unusual storm system, and then it just keeps on dumping precipitation. I'm just going to go ahead and animate this. We're right now at Monday, right around midnight, now going into Tuesday, and you're going to see all that moisture being dumped on top of southern West Virginia with cold air in place. That could be some decent snow. I'm not going to mention totals right now because it's just too far out, and the model just reset there. But the bottom line is this. If the European is right, we may have some winter weather to deal with next week. But that's not the only model we look at. We look at a lot of models when trying to put our forecast together. This is the GFS. This is the American model. We're going to go ahead and put it into motion. And you can see something similar happens, but there are enough differences that it makes a few questions as to which one's right. What happens with this is the storms come together much later. Now we're into Monday, and you see they still haven't phased yet. And according to this model run, the phasing really doesn't take place until much farther north. Not sure I buy that solution, but there is just enough difference that it makes you go, that's a little odd. Usually the models tend to have a little bit more agreement. But yeah, you can see the phase there didn't happen till almost all the way up to Nova Scotia. That would mean for us, cold weather for sure, maybe a little bit of wintry nicks early in the week, but nothing really to write home about. However, that was the GFS operational model. A lot of the models also have what we call ensembles. They run several runs of the model, change a few things with each little run, and take an average, and that tends to give you a little bit more accurate of a forecast, or at least in theory it does. The GFS ensemble is showing something a little bit similar to the Euro, or at least it's phasing it sooner. It's a lot farther north, but this is Tuesday morning going into Wednesday morning, and you can see it phases it just a little bit farther north. We don't get as much wraparound precipitation, but it's still cold enough at this point for snow. And for kicks and giggles, we'll look at the Canadian model. That's another one of the models, and it too shows kind of a similar solution to the GFS ensemble. So here's the bottom line at this point. There is still a lot, and I want to emphasize a lot, of uncertainty about what's going to be happening with Sandy. There is still just more questions than we have answers at this point. I think right now the potential is definitely there for some winter weather early next week here in southern West Virginia. What kind? How much? That's still questions we've got to answer. I mean, folks, we're still, 3 or 4 days out from when this thing's actually going to hit. So just keep it with WOAY, WOAY.com, my Facebook, Mike Lichniak's Facebook and Twitter, my Twitter. Just stay with us the next couple of days as we try to figure out what this thing's going to do. Do you need to go out, rush out to the grocery store and prepare just yet? I wouldn't do it just yet, but I definitely would keep an eye on the weather in the next couple of days, as there's still a lot of uncertainty. Once we get into tomorrow, and especially towards Saturday and Sunday, and start really figuring out the details of this storm, we'll let you know if you need to go and get ready for any kind of big winter weather. But until then, just go about your business the next couple of days, but just keep a little extra eye closer to the weather than you normally do as we figure this thing out. Alright, that's going to do it for me. I'll be back in the office tonight, 5, 6, and 11. Have a great day, and God bless.